having Assad just basically blown away by a bunch of relatively poorly armed rebels shows that the king is not wearing any clothes. That Putin really isn't the tough guy that can come in and save his pal, his friend Assad, when the going gets tough.
First of all, you are normally introduced as one of the archest of all Vladimir Putin's critics. For people who don't know enough about you, perhaps don't know as much as they should, how have you achieved that title? What's your definition of why you are called one of his archest critics?
So I was once living in Russia and running the largest foreign investment fund in Russia. I uncovered massive corruption in the companies I was investing in. I exposed that corruption. In retaliation, I was expelled from the country. My lawyer, Sergei Magnitsky, was then arrested, tortured, and killed in Russian police custody. And after his murder, I went on a mission to get justice, which led to something called the Magnitsky Act. The Magnitsky Act freezes the assets and bans the travel of human rights violators and kleptocrats in Russia. The Magnitsky Act was passed in the United States in 2012, in the UK in 2018, and now exists in 35 countries around the world. And since Vladimir Putin is a human rights violator and a kleptocrat, and he keeps a lot of his money abroad, I put his whole fortune at risk. And so he hates my guts because his entire kleptocratic business model has been disrupted by this legislation that I was responsible for.
He does hate your guts. I know you've been asked this before, but I've got to ask it again. Are you safe?
I don't believe that when Putin hates your guts, you're safe by any means. I try to take as many precautions as I can. And so far, I've survived. A lot of my friends and allies in this fight have not. As I mentioned, my lawyer, Sergei Magnitsky, was killed. My friend Boris Nemtsov, who helped me lobby for the Magnitsky Act, was killed. My friend Alexei Navalny, who was a great partner in our anti-corruption fights, was killed. And that's not to mention many, many others. It's a dangerous, dangerous business to cross Vladimir Putin. He's a mafia boss. He's a murderer. He's a serial killer, really. And so I just have to do whatever I can to try to stay safe. And I don't have a particularly normal life compared to everybody else.